everyone. This is Jacqui Cooper with Crypto Mom 2 talk show, as well as the Blockchain Legal Institute. And as always, I want to remind you to like and subscribe because we have many wonderful guests on. And I'm going to be popping this chat over to JCooperTravels too. So I will share that too, only because of the fact that JCooperTravels is not just about where we travel in the world, but how do we travel and what is our personal journey. And since we're getting close to the new year, even though I'm not quite sure when you might see this, so it could be anytime during the year, James's story is remarkable, and his tenacity, in dreaming about an idea and then putting it into action is something that I think in the new year we all need to be thinking about, because we always have goals, and the new year can start today. It can start January 1st. It can start, December 15th. It really doesn't matter. We make the new year when we decide to set a new goal and to create one, and then put it into action. I know I was sharing with James that I had this idea for a book over the weekend, and my co-founder for BLI was laughing at the fact that I just couldn't get it out of my head. And so, the book is now actually in my store, but the name of the book is How to Get Paid in Happiness, and it's all about finding joy in your life through, and it's a planner. So you can start and do anything and make it a reality. And so I'm really excited to have James on the show today because he's doing something really important. And for those that don't know me, I am the author of the Bitcoin Cinderella, a blockchain adventure story, and Samantha is a wonderful, unique character that I created so she can go around the world and learn about different topics, vocabulary within our blockchain world, whether it's metaverse, NFTs, whatever. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and for the real purpose of what it's all about, as well as how do you help people. And I am a Bitcoin miner. I do own Bitcoin. And I believe in the power of decentralization. I believe in what the community is striving for. So that's why when I learned about what James was doing, I thought, bingo, it combines everything. And so that's why I really wanted him to come on the show to share and for people to support him. So with that, I do have to say the disclaimers. This is not financial advice. It's not investment advice. It's not, any of those other things that, I should be going down my checklist. And as an attorney, I should probably know it all by heart, but I don't. So you have to do your own research. And that's actually why I created Blockchain Legal Institute, so you could find the resources to do your own research. But enough of the shilling on my side. I really want James. I welcome. And how are you doing today?
Hey, Jacqui, I'm doing really well. I really appreciate you for connecting over with you on LinkedIn. It's really cool that you popped into just chilling
Yeah.
and heard me talk about, what I'm building with NiHowdy. It's really cool that we connected, and, I'm definitely really excited to be here today.
Well, I heard your story, and I want you to share really how you started this, because, it's these are the inspiring stories that we hear down the road, and people say, "How do you're such a success," and then you turn to them and you say, "Well, I had to do X, Y, Z, so it wasn't an overnight success." But, again, the foundation was laid. So how did you get started? Tell a little bit more about your background, because I think it's important for everyone to understand where the idea started from.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, first of all, NiHowdy is a platform where we basically pass drug rebates back to the customers who need prescription refills. Our drug rebates, they come in the form of Bitcoin. And right now, no one in the industry passes back drug rebates to everyday consumers like you or me. A little bit about my background. I'm actually a pharmacist by trade. I know I look quite young, but I've been in the industry since, I would say, the 90s. My family, they're all pharmacists. So it's very common for me to have gone to a pharmacy to work after school. And that's kind of how I just sort of became intertwined in the business. After pharmacy school, I sort of opened up my own practice. And a really common experience that I had among other community pharmacists was that we'd always have people come in with 5 or 6 medications, and they say, "Hey, I only have $50, $100. what can I go without, and what can I, what should I take for the next couple months or so? And always like deep down inside, like that was an experience that killed me because
Yeah.
it's like imagine it's like your own grandmother, your own grandfather, you just can't get medicine because it's like so expensive.
And you had to choose
Fortunate for me,
between them.
yeah, I mean, fortunate for me because I own my own practice. I just pretty much said, look, these medications are cheap, just take it. That's totally fine. But that's not really a model that it's you can replicate on a nationwide basis. I can only help out people that were local in my area in San Jose, California. As I sold my business around 2020, I started thinking about this idea with a group of friends, and I said, why don't we give drug rebates to people, but in Bitcoin? And a lot of my colleagues, they're all pharmacists, surgeons, physicians. They thought it was the craziest idea. They said, Bitcoin, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But the next day, as I started to work on this idea, I said, look, this is actually the best idea possible. When you buy a $10 drug, we pass back 3%. That's roughly 30 cents. How in today's world do I give you 30 cents in the traditional financial system? It's impossible. Postage and handling, that's already 35 cents. I think it's going to 40 cents next year. I can't Venmo you as a business. A business for us to do a transaction, it's a quarter to $1.50. So given the traditional legacy fiat system, it's not feasible. So I look at this model and say, well, what's the current solution right now? We have a publicly traded company called GoodRx. They make anywhere from 500 to 800 million, all based on out-of-pocket prescription costs on an annual basis. Now I look at that and I say, that's really disgusting. That's a lot of money that's just extracted from the everyday person who needs to buy medications. Is there a better way to do this that's much more affordable and gives value back to the customer? And I think Bitcoin's a great solution to that. What's really cool is, in my opinion, I do believe Bitcoin's an asset class. It's very misunderstood at this very moment in time, but I think 30 cents of Bitcoin today could be worth a lot more in the future. And I think what makes this really cool is this is the first possible way to solve for out-of-pocket prescription costs, something our government can't even solve, something our state couldn't solve, something our federal government can't even solve. So that's, NiHowdy in a nutshell and how I sort of started it.
So, how do you market this? How are people getting to know it? And you talk about Bitcoin. Now, I have a wallet, but is someone that is using your platform, do they need a wallet? How does this work? How complicated is it for people?
It's not complicated at all, and that's a really good question. So for us, we realized that a lot of people who need prescriptions, they might not be Bitcoiners, they might be no coiners.
Yeah,
We're here to save
exactly.
money. Our medications are very they're very competitive. They're usually the same price as our competitors. If not, we're sometimes cheaper. But yeah, if people were to say, hey, look, I used your product, I want to earn Bitcoin now, all you need is just to sign up for a free account through NiHowdy.com. In terms of when do you want to withdraw that Bitcoin reward, it's really at any point in time that you want. As of right now, we work with Coinbase. You need to have a Coinbase account that's created, and we pay out directly to your Coinbase account. We're working on a few Lightning Network solutions in the future, but right now we're just testing our proof of concept with our MVP at this very moment. But
So
yeah, it's
So
essentially if you want.
they can sign up with you, and then once they get the rebate, then they would just have to figure out how to navigate over to Coinbase. And for those that have never used Coinbase, or some of the centralized exchanges, they have what's called know your customers. So they're going to just ask you for the same type of information that you might if you go onto any other platform and you're buying or selling a product, but they need to know you, and then you would put your bank account in there or other way to move the coins, the crypto, Bitcoin, whatever it is that you're doing. In this case, it's Bitcoin, over to your bank account. So they would do the exchange for you, but you do have to learn how to do it. But Coinbase especially has some really great tutorials, and it's fairly simple. Trust me, if over the years I can learn how to do it, you can do it. There is
Very good.
some security things you just have to, protect your seed words and things like that. But really, it's a relatively easy process. So, how are you marketing this to? You have some fairly large name brands who are working with you. Tell us more about that, because I thought that was really interesting. Who has been open to working with you?
Yeah, so we have about 35,000 pharmacies in our network. There's about, I want to say, 80,000 pharmacies in America. So we're a little less than half of most nationwide pharmacies. Some of these pharmacies include CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Duane Reade, Publix, just to name a few. It was very difficult trying to convince all these pharmacies to join this network. I can tell you when I first conceptualized this idea sometime in 2020, the first group of pharmacies that I approached, I went to their C suite and I did my pitch. And within, I would say, the first 5 minutes, C suite pretty much said, "You need to get out. I don't want to hear about Bitcoin." That was a very huge blow at the very beginning to my own self confidence and to really this idea. 6 months later, the C suite called me back, and I think it was the CFO specifically. I said, "Hey, my kid's talking about Bitcoin. Can you just tell us a little bit more about it?" And that kind of was like my foot in the door for the first few pharmacies. And there was some challenges, of course, going along with that. Every pharmacy network is a little bit different. But yeah, we were really fortunate to be able to convince people to really say, "Hey, this is definitely a new way of doing business, giving Bitcoin back to people." But yeah, there was a lot of challenges with that.
So, it's all about education, and I'm in education, I'm in law, and blockchain legal institutes in education. We do have a Bitcoin vertical so people can learn more about Bitcoin and its history, its white paper, along with other blockchain uses. Um, would you say that you have the corporate structure that said yes to doing this? Um, how are you, or do you need help with, how are you navigating, educating the members of that corporate structure, on the ground pharmacists as to remember to give this option? Because obviously, if a customer doesn't know that this is an option, then they won't use it. I mean, for me, I have being a teacher, I have fairly good healthcare. But when I learned about GoodRx and now about you, it's like, oh, you mean even if I have healthcare, I can still see if this applies, so I can get an even better discount. So unless people know, so how are you marketing this? And the reason why I'm
Sure.
asking this for everyone who's listening, whether you're on the video side or the audio side, because I do have, the talk show on Anchor and other channels. Um, if you believe in what we're talking about here, then it's really important for you to help us educate others about what Bitcoin is, educate others about the possibility that this could be used by them. Because whether it's myself with Bitcoin Cinderella and the educational books, or whether it's you with your platform, we can only be so many places. Really, this is a grassroots effort to educate people about what Bitcoin can do and should do, and what the vision of Bitcoin was, which is, to be able to help the masses. So how, I know I'm talking a lot and not letting you share how you're educating, but what help do you need? Share more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty interesting in terms of marketing. Again, I come from the background of being a pharmacist, so marketing isn't really, my forte. A lot of our customers have been word of mouth, actually. It's been quite fascinating. I told an initial group of pharmacists who first learned about this product, who have told another group of pharmacists about my products. And it's sort of difficult in the conversation of healthcare to talk about Bitcoin. This is one of the challenges in sort of marketing this, is that explaining Bitcoin to, say, someone who's a physician who makes a tremendously huge amount of money, to have them start questioning what money is, that's a very difficult conversation. But the ones that are really receptive to it, and I've noticed it's the younger generation of practitioners, those are the people that we sort of talk to about, what is Bitcoin? What does it do? And how is Bitcoin going to change the pharmaceutical industry? That, I think, is the ultimate crux of what we spend most of our time on, is just talking to practitioners that are a little bit younger and understand the value of Bitcoin here. A lot of my experiences and talking to the older generation, it's a little bit more difficult. But they're still receptive to the idea.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that Bitcoin's been around now almost close to 14 years. It was 13
Yes.
last year. So it's amazing, that it's a teenager, almost at college years. And so people are more aware. I had a really funny laugh this today. Someone shared with me the Today Show episode with Katie Couric and her partners, and it was in 1994. And it was, I remember this, because it's gone around the YouTube circle, but that's where they were saying, well, I don't understand the at sign. What does that mean? Now and what is this internet? What is this? And how are we communicating? And they, again, we're at the point right now where people don't even think twice about what the internet is. Now they're asking, well, what's blockchain? But again, it's with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was built on a blockchain, its own blockchain, and it started it was really started the movement of thought structure, and it's it takes a while. I mean, 94, think of how many years it took before we all became comfortable with not even thinking twice about the internet, having it on our phones, which, phones used to not be this small, so it's what you're doing, what I'm doing, we are educating those that need to know, and it's going to be second nature to use something like what you created, because it's so natural to think about the rebates and to use it with Bitcoin. I mean, it just is. Now, I guess I'm going to ask you another question. It's more economics. Again, I'm not trying to do investment advice here, but why did you think that Bitcoin would be the vehicle to do this? What is it about the nature of Bitcoin that you thought that this would be an interesting way to give a rebate? Because again, rebates could be in fiat, but you thought, okay, let me stretch the envelope a little bit. Let's do it with Bitcoin. And I'm not saying stretch the envelope because Bitcoin is so unusual, because I feel comfortable in the Bitcoin community. But for those that don't know anything about Bitcoin, they're thinking, why Bitcoin? So answer that question, why Bitcoin?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for some reasons I explained, it comes down to the transaction fee. If you're paying out people on the Bitcoin Lightning Network, the transaction fee is like 1,000th of a % if you're batching all the transactions correctly. That's really cheap compared to me mailing you a check that costs 30 cents. If our rebate is only like 20 cents, 30 cents, like it's very diminished and it's very difficult to facilitate. But I think what's really cool is Bitcoin's an asset class that can appreciate value in the future. And if this is the mechanism to solve for out of pocket prescription costs, then I think this is an amazing business model to try and see if it works.
Well, the
But
other thing that you and I talked about is the
yeah,
idea of creating savings and creating retirement. So do you want
yeah,
to kind of expand on that?
yeah. I mean, look, 30 cents of Bitcoin today might seem very de minimis. It might not seem like a whole lot, but 30 cents of Bitcoin in, I want to say 2011, 2012, like that wasn't whole lot either. But that's worth like probably like 30, 40 Bitcoin at that time. It's a huge amount today. I don't know how much Bitcoin is going to be in the future, but it's a technology that I don't think it's going to be going away anytime soon. It's disruptive. If you were to turn off the internet, that's the only way you'd be able to turn off Bitcoin. And good luck with that. It's impossible at this point in time. It's completely decentralized. There's no way you can censor a transaction. Anyone in this world can go and start up their own wallet. If you didn't know this, I think about 2 to 3 billion people in this world don't have a bank account.
Yeah, the unbanked.
Bitcoin solves that. Yeah. About, I want to say 3 to 4 billion people are subject to censorship of their transactions, meaning if you say something that's wrong against the government or something that dissents or is, not favorably opinionated, they can go after your bank account and say, hey, look, I'm going to censor you from making other transactions. Or if your social credit score isn't good enough, you're not, or you're prohibited from using this vending machine. But there isn't any technology that addresses inflation as well. We have central banks that print so much money, and it comes at the expense of everyone else who has to save money. Bitcoin, for the first time, is like the most neutral monetary policy in the world that solves inflation, it solves for censorship of transactions, and it solves for this unbanked population. No other technology in the world has come close to even solving this in humankind. Like when I look at Bitcoin, this is the most asymmetrical bet of our lifetime here.
Um, I no, I would agree. And again, I'll go back to the disclaimers, not financial advice, not investment advice, not legal advice. Do your own research. But I would definitely agree. And being a Bitcoin miner, I definitely, agree. Do you want to share your screen? Because I know that I would like to have people see exactly the platform, where to go. And for those that are listening, I will have the information in the blog below, so that way you can reach out to James and reach out to me as well. But that way you can see where to go. Yeah. Okay. So we are seeing NiHowdy, and we're seeing Bitcoin. For those that are on the audio side, I'm gonna kind of do a little narration here. We're seeing Bitcoin for prescription bucks. And we also see Walgreens, CVS, Wegmans, Walmart, Costco. Oh, I should test Costco out and go to their pharmacy and say, hey.
Yeah, we're definitely a network with Costco. So
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
cool.
No, that's cool. So it shows how it works. It's really easy. 1, 2, 3, and you have a prescription savings card that you can download with a number, and it shows you exactly how it works. So I'm going to let you kind of share, and as you kind of scroll down. What are we looking at now?
Yeah, so here's a prescription savings card. This member ID is actually specific to myself as an individual, but if you were to log on for your own free membership, this member ID would be specific to you. If you scroll further down, we give some sample of like what medications are really popular and what your pricing would be. And then we show you how much Bitcoin you'd be getting back. Obviously, this would be a very de minimis amount, but yeah, it'd be roughly about like 93 Satoshis, which is pretty good. Um, we give an example here is like, look, you might get about 39 cents a Bitcoin today if you were to purchase gabapentin. Imagine Bitcoin's worth, a quarter million. That rebate would be worth $2.34. So we try to extrapolate, what could this potentially be worth in the future. I love this feature right here. It's called the FOMO feature. When I was talking to my developers, I pretty much said, let's figure out how much Bitcoin, $2 worth of it back in 2012 would be, and let's extrapolate to today's value. So $2 a Bitcoin in 2012 would have gone you 0.14 Bitcoin. That's roughly about $6,000, which could be like a round trip, well, first class round trip to like Tokyo from SFO. Um, $2 of Bitcoin in 2011, that would have been roughly about half a Bitcoin. That's equivalent to, a Datejust for a Rolex watch. So we just give some general ideas here of what things could be worth in the future.
It's good to put a visual, because it's really hard sometimes for people to kind of put it in context.
But yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's we have our disclaimers in the bottom, terms and conditions, privacy policy, FAQs, in case anyone wants to read it. But I'll look up a random drug right now. I'll do like lisinopril. That's actually a very common blood pressure medication. And yeah, it'll pull up some information. And depending, for me, it pulls the drug information based on my zip code. So it'll tell me what's the closest pharmacy here, and then what's the estimated price for this lisinopril here. You can click on this little crayon, or I guess this pen, for this medication, and you can adjust the quantity, you can adjust the dosage or the formulation, or if you want generic versus brand name. But the general idea here is like, look, if I need to buy this blood pressure medication, Walmart appears to be my cheapest option at $4, and this is how much Bitcoin I can get back in return. Yeah,
Now, I
I
saw you
will.
have a newsletter. Tell us more about the newsletter.
The newsletter,
Yeah,
that one,
it was on the bottom that you could sign up for the newsletter.
be on the front page. We haven't launched the newsletter yet.
Okay. All right. Not a
Yeah,
problem. Not a
yeah,
problem. So,
we haven't. Yeah, we haven't launched it yet. What's pretty interesting is all our marketing material needs to get reviewed by all our pharmacy partners prior
yeah,
to
that
publishing
makes
it.
sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, the insight I wanted to share with you really is that a lot of these publicly traded companies, they do see some sort of potential here with blockchain, with NFTs, with Bitcoin, with crypto. but they don't want to be the first ones to get their foot in the door. And sort of the insight I sort of received in talking to all these different C suites, they pretty much said, hey, if this does crash and go to zero, I could potentially lose my job on the board. And that was kind of the insight. I was like, oh, wow. There are some definite entrepreneurial opportunities here to take. But I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, no, that's really important. I mean, again, we have people who are in different companies who want to support, but then they also are, concerned about their own well-being too, and that's understandable. What are we looking
So
into?
So this is my own account. I populated this with some prescription claims, and essentially here are some medications that if I were to purchase, what this would look like on your side if you were a user. You would see the history of what medications you've purchased, which pharmacy you were at, and how much Bitcoin is estimated to be earned or rewarded from that purchase. So I'm just scrolling to just give you a few examples here.
Yeah,
But yeah, when you're ready for all these, satoshis to be pulled out, you would hit withdraw, and this will link to your Coinbase account. I'm not able to withdraw right now because I have not finished the KYC requirements of my account.
well,
But
you
we
wouldn't
work with
want to show that on video anyway.
yeah, but yeah, we work with OnFido to handle our KYC.
Mhm.
And then in the future, we do plan on offering mail order, so this makes it a little bit easier instead of going to CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens. We can mail the medications to you as another option.
When you do the mail order, how are you going to know that it's only reaching the person who is within the KYC? How are you doing that?
What do you mean by how do we
Well,
know?
if you're doing mail order, how do you protect that it's going to go right into the hands of the person who did the order and not,
Oh,
yeah,
so yeah, we would be acting as a referral agent to the mail order pharmacy. The mail order pharmacy would be the ones that would be handling the
got it.
order.
Oh,
What we do on our end is to handle out the payouts.
got it. And that's
Yeah.
important for everyone who's listening to know.
Yeah.
So that way, it's just another partner that you're going to be working with and that type of thing. So,
Yes.
why don't you go ahead and say the name of the platform again, so that way people can visit. Yeah, so that way if you're on the audio side, even though I will have the link embedded, and if you want to write it down, if you don't have paper and pen, don't worry, but why don't you go ahead and say the name of the platform again?
Yeah, it's my startup's called NiHowdy.com. NIHOWDY.com. So pretty much it's a combination of Mandarin and English. Ni hao is, hello, how are you in Chinese. And howdy is well the English way of, greeting another person.
It's a wonderful way to blend.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
any last minute thoughts? I really appreciate your being on, and I look forward to sharing with others the platform, so that way they can earn Bitcoin rewards, because I think that that's a great gift for people to have, especially if they are already accessing medications. I mean, it's just an easy way for them to earn Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, definitely thanks for having me on. I'd probably just say, drug rates, it's a very disgusting business. And, I hope to change that with NiHowdy. I really do believe that drug rates should really go back to the everyday person that has to pay for medications rather than going back to, shareholders of a publicly traded company. And I really hope we can change that.
Well, I think it's one medication at a time, one person at a time, using, your platform. It's gonna make a big impact, and then, they'll see the volume of people who are using it, and then they'll think that they need to do that too. So, thank you for making a difference, for sure.
Definitely.
So as I always say at the end of all my shows, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We are all interconnected. We're all part of one world. And thank you for being on, and stay tuned for the next episode. Have a great one, guys. Bye.